Jordan, I'm literally live on YouTube right now.
Oh, well, I was actually going to say I have a bit of time. I thought my brother brought his laptop.
Okay. You wanna hop on?
Yeah, are you live on YouTube right now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me hop on. Give me a second. Stay on the phone.
All right, trying to get Jordan on here. Welcome to Sunny in the Belt number 6. We're trying out the live YouTube feature today. I'm wondering if I can share the PowerPoint I got set up, but welcome back. If I can't get it shared, we might just do this another way, but doesn't look like I can, Jordan. We'll just I can't share the PowerPoint. I thought I'd be able to in the live feature.
Anyway, I'll just hop on your live and I'll just follow you.
All right, we'll just do it like this today. All right, see you, Jordan.
All right, see you.
All right, guys, trying to get Jordan on here. We'll try to figure this out for next time. But welcome to the Sunny in the Belt podcast. This is episode number 6. Today we're going to recap our Thursday picks, give you our current standings, talk about the current standings of the Sun Belt Basketball Conference as we approach the final 3 games of regular season play before the conference tournament, and give you our Saturday picks. So to start it off, on Thursday, Jordan and I both went 4-2. It was a pretty good Thursday as far as betting went. Jordan and I both hit on Troy +4, both hit on Georgia State -9.5, both hit on South Alabama -1. Unfortunately, in the ULM basketball game on Thursday, it went down to the wire. The Cajuns were at the line, went up by a point with 2.5 seconds left to play. And instead of sinking the second free throw, which would have put us up to and over that -1.5, the Cajuns intentionally missed the free throw to drain the clock and come out of the game with the dub. So it was a bad beat for us. So we dropped that one. I ended up taking UTA -10 over Little Rock, whereas Jordan took Little Rock +10, and we saw UTA cover. And then the final game of the night, Arkansas State was playing Texas State, and the Bobcats and San Marcos ran away with that one. They covered the 5.5-point spread, so Jordan won that one. I dropped, and we both ended 4-2 on the night. Our current standings right now between Jordan and I, we're heading into our 6th episode, 6 slate of games that we're picking for. And right now we have a winning record. We're over 500. Jordan and I are both at 15-14 right now, hoping to keep that good Thursday run going. And we'll give you our picks shortly. To highlight the current standings in our conference at the moment, as you may know, our conference is going to be seeded based off of win percentage rather than games won or tiebreakers or things like that. It's going to be first based off of win percentage. So right now, from top to bottom, we've got Texas State at 9-3 with a win percentage of 0.75. Going down, we got Troy right on their tail at 9-4. App State at 10-5. They've been dropping some games recently. They're on a 2-game losing streak compared to Texas State's 6-game winning streak. We've got South Al at 4, at 8-5. Georgia State has climbed up the table. They're in 5th place at 6-5. Arkansas State has also had a rough stretch of games, losing their last 3, at 6-6. At 6th place, 666, no luck there. UTA, the Mavs are at 7-7, and they're in 7th place. The Cajuns climbed up 1 spot to 8th. They're currently 6-8 in the conference. Coastal Carolina is in 9th at 5-8. UL Monroe at 10th at 5-10. Georgia Southern, losing the last 4 games that they've played, are at 4-9. And in last place is Little Rock at 3-8. So that's where our conference stands right now. We've got 3 games left in the regular season for conference play. With that being said, these final 3 games really could decide, number 1, who our regular season conference champion is, and number 2, where these teams are going to be seeded going into the conference tournament. Seeding affects how many games each team will play. I believe the top 4 teams in our conference have first-round byes, so they'll only have to play 3 games max, right? Whereas a team in the bottom 8 will have to run the table and win 4 games in 4 days to be our conference champion. It's not unheard of. We saw that happen last year where App State was one of those bottom 8 seeded teams. They won 4 games in 4 days and were crowned our conference tournament champion and went to the dance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this one as we close out our regular season. So to get to today's picks, we've got a good slate of games for Saturday. Kicking it off, first tip-off is at 2 p.m. We've got Arkansas State facing UT Arlington. In this game, it's a 2.5, 2-point spread that we've seen. It's kind of moving between 2 points and 2.5. When Jordan and I submitted our picks, it was based off of the spreads at the time that we had seen, and we both took Arkansas State plus 2.5. In my opinion, I think Arkansas State's been on a rough stretch of games. They're ready to bounce back. Although David Azor is a great basketball player for UTA, I think Norchad Omier and Caleb Fields are going to be able to take this one, or at the least be able to cover at plus 2.5. The next tip-off we have is Georgia State at Georgia Southern. This was a game, the spread has moved quite a bit. It was pretty close at first, which confused me. I'm sure it confused Jordan as well. Georgia Southern has not been playing very well. Georgia State, on the other hand, has been playing very well. We both took Georgia State -4 in this matchup. Georgia State's playing great basketball. They're shooting the ball well. I think the spread being that close, only 4 points. We've seen some spreads with Georgia State playing that were like -9, -9.5 was the spread this past Thursday. It might be close because Georgia State's on the road. It's an in-state rivalry. Georgia Southern is hosting that game, but I don't see Georgia Southern being able to hang with the Panthers in this one. The next game that tips off is at 3 o'clock. We've got Troy at Coastal Carolina. Coastal is an interesting team. We've seen them beat South Carolina by SEC South Carolina by 30 points. However, they've also dropped games to UNC Wilmington and Mercer. They've lost to other teams in our conference, aren't doing too well. They've got a talented bunch. However, I think Troy is really pushing for that conference championship, right? If Texas State drops one, Troy that's the open door for Troy to take our regular season conference championship. And it really could come down to the final game of the season where Troy plays Texas State in that final game. We're both taking Troy plus 4.5 against Coastal Carolina. Coastal is hosting this game, but I think Jordan would agree with me when you compare the two teams and how they play. Troy plays as a team. They're well coached. Scott Cross is a great basketball coach, in our opinion. And we both think Troy is going to cover the spread in this one. I was tempted to take money line in this one because I think Troy really needs that win to stay in the hunt for the conference championship. But we're taking Troy plus 4.5. In the next tip-off, we've got South Alabama at Appalachian State. For a while in our conference, App State was our conference leaders. They were in first place, and they've had a tough go the past couple of games, winning some by a very close margin, dropping a couple as well. Jordan and I are both taking South Alabama minus 1.5. App State is hosting the game, but South Alabama, as we said before, they play fast. They've got a talented group. They've got a young head coach. I think they'll come ready to play. And at minus 1.5, I think that's a bargain for South Alabama to cover, both win and cover the spread in this matchup. Now, as we've seen in our past episodes, it always seems like Jordan and I pick with each other for 4 out of the 6 games, and 2 we disagree on. For this next one, we've got Little Rock at Texas State. This was something I talked about for our Thursday episode. I was picking against Little Rock when they played UTA. However, I'm picking Little Rock with the points to cover in this game. It's a weird thing that's going on with Little Rock in that on Thursday nights, they do not play that well. And then they get to Saturday and they play like a completely different team. The spread, the line that came out with this one has Texas State as 14-point favorites. Jordan's taken Texas State to cover that 14 points. I think Little Rock will keep up the trend of playing tough on Saturdays. And that 14 points, I think, will help bring me a win in that one. The final game of Saturday is a 7 p.m. tip-off between UL Monroe and Louisiana. Tipping off in Lafayette. The line on this one is 7.5, and I've also seen it climb to 8 points on some in some sports books. This line confuses me a bit because we saw the game on Thursday night end in a 1-point win for Louisiana. I think that's sort of Jordan's basis for taking the Warhawks plus 7.5. I'm going to go ahead and take UL, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, minus 7.5 in this one. I do think home court advantage will play a factor. This is the last game in the Cajun Dome this season for the Cajuns. And I think senior night, all these things culminating into it, we saw Louisiana pull out. They were up by 10 to 12 points at one point in that game on Thursday. They went into halftime with a 10-point lead. I think they'll be able to not only build that lead again, but hold on to it this time at home, not let the Warhawks climb back. And at one point, the Warhawks took the lead, and they fumbled it towards the end, and Louisiana was able to pull out a close victory. But I see Louisiana sweeping the Warhawks. I don't know what Jordan's opinion is. He might believe that Louisiana does take the win. I would hope he does as a Raging Cajun fan. Thinks Louisiana will pull off the win. But suffice to say, he's taken the Warhawks plus 7.5, gives him that cushion in case it's a close game again. I'm taking UL minus 7.5. So those are our Saturday picks. Thank y'all for joining us on this live. If you're watching it live, I appreciate it. I see some chats. I'm sorry I wasn't following along. We got Evan Guillory in the chat saying Texas State going to take it, I think. Probably, maybe so. Yeah, they've been playing really well. They've got 2 games less than some of the other teams in our conference right now. Jordan said big surprise on the spread, talking about the ULM line coming out. Yeah, it climbed up to 8 points, and I don't question the bookies sometimes. Those dudes are time travelers. Somehow, some way, they know that it's going to be close to what that is. Grash in the chat, love the haircut, big guy. Asking what betting apps do you use? I don't want to shout out any one betting app over the others because you never know. Could be a future sponsor. But I use a couple on there. And Jacob says he still hasn't downloaded one. Good for you. That means you haven't lost any money yet. Caleb HD Pena in the chat. UL, baby. Yeah, I feel that as well. I think the Cajuns are going to finish off strong. I mean, as we know, fellas, as we get to the conference tournament, it doesn't necessarily matter how you play during the regular season. Using App State as an example last year, that team went 7-6 in conference play over the season. They weren't a highly seeded team. They had to win 4 games in 4 days, and they did that, right? Texas State last year was the darling of our conference. I think they lost only like 3 or 4 games total. And won our conference championship regular season, and they got knocked out in the first round of the tournament. So it's not about how you play during the regular season necessarily, but how you play towards the end. That's why we've seen teams like Georgia State be historically successful as it comes to conference tournament play, because they're always able to peak at the right moment, right? They play their best basketball the closer they get to March. So a team like Louisiana, losing a lot of close games throughout the season, I think most of the games that they've lost have been within a 5-point margin, something like that. I think the average in conference play is somewhere around there. Close games can play out differently in conference tournament. Grash in the chat says, if you were king for a day, what would you change about March Madness to make it better? I like it how it is. I think it's a good setup. There's a lot of arguments out there that the one bid leagues like ours, Sunbelt only sends one team, and that's our conference tournament champion as the automatic qualifier. Some people argue that we should send our regular season champion to the conference tournament. We saw the Ivy League do that for a long time, where teams like Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Cornell, right, they'd send their regular season champion to the tournament because they know their regular season champion, for the most part, it's not based off of one game. It's based off of a season's work, has been the most successful team. Sending them to the tournament, they might have a better shot at pulling out an upset. However, I kind of like the fact that the conference tournament gives every team a shot at playing in the dance. It's not guaranteed. And I think that's kind of what it makes it special. It's called March Madness for a reason. Crazy stuff happens. We see teams who don't win their regular season conference championship go and win their conference tournament, make it to the big dance, and then upset a bigger school in the first round. And I think that's something that makes it special. If I was king for a day, as far as college football playoff went, I would definitely have every conference champion in a playoff somehow. I think if you win your conference championship, you should have a shot at the national championship. And that's how the March Madness for men's basketball is set up, and women's basketball, right? Those teams who win their conference championship, conference tournament, right? We call it the conference tournament championship. They go on to have a shot at the national title. And I think that's fair, and it's fun to watch. Evan Guillory in the chat says, will y'all be doing other sports other than basketball? Yes. So our plan is to cover Sunbelt sports as a whole. We're going to be transitioning as basketball season ends into men's baseball. When that gets started in Sunbelt Conference play, our hope is that at all times be talking about Sunbelt Conference matchups. We got some exciting teams joining our conference with Marshall, Old Dominion, Southern Miss, James Madison, some really talented groups in a lot of different sports. Marshall and Old Dominion have been good at basketball. Southern Miss is great at baseball. We've seen James Madison be great at football, winning FCS national championships for football. So we're going to be covering all Sunbelt sports and Sunbelt matchups. And hopefully with our knowledge, as we gain our knowledge in these Sunbelt teams, we'll be able to accurately pick based off the lines we're given by Vegas. And we hope that y'all will follow along with us. So I'm going to cut it off here. We're at about 20 minutes. Thank y'all for joining. Appreciate it. Go ahead and like this video. It helps the algorithm so more people can see our channel. Subscribe, and looking forward to y'all joining us next time. We'll get that PowerPoint back up. Wanted to try out the live tonight. Follow us on Twitter at @SunnyInTheBelt _, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.